So I don't know if you've seen those videos of former President Goodluck Jonathan, being asked by friends, allies, supporters to join the race for the presidency in 2027. I've always been of the opinion that the Constitution did not anticipate 2 terms of a presidency or governorship that will amount to 10 years. The maximum the Constitution of Nigeria allows is 8 years. So any way you want to slice and dice it, if at the end of the day, a president or a governor does 10 years, I think it is unconstitutional. And that's where the matter of former President Goodluck Jonathan stands now. The Constitution has been amended. In 2018, the Constitution was amended to include further sections. That's Section 137 and Sections 182. A third subsection was added to those 2 sections, and they were added in 2018. Stay with me now. Let me explain why that date is very important. So, in other words, this amendment to the Constitution says that if you complete someone's term, then you seek re-election. You can only seek re-election for another term. In other words, if you're a vice president or you're a deputy governor and your principal dies or resigns or for whatever reason leaves office and you step up to complete his term, you can only do 1 more term as governor or president. So let's use the situation of Goodluck Jonathan when he was vice president. Upon the death of late President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, then Vice President Jonathan completed 2 years to complete the term of President Yar'Adua, and then subsequently sought election as a presidential candidate on his own capacity, which he won. After winning that, served 4 years, now wanted to seek re-election. That second re-election, where President Muhammadu Buhari defeated him in 2015, was the bone of contention. It was so contentious that a lawyer went to court. That's John Mary Jideobi. He went to court at the Federal High Court in Abuja and, sought to have Goodluck Jonathan disqualified from ever contesting the seat of the presidency because by law, he's done 2 oaths of office. The oath of office he took when he was completing Yar'Adua's term, and the second oath of office he took when he won the election in 2011. So, based on that, this lawyer went to the Federal High Court to say he should be banned because doing another term will mean that his total will be 10 years, which isn't what the Constitution anticipated. Now, where are we with that? The law says in jurisprudence, you cannot backdate a law to punish a person for something he did when he didn't know that it was an offense. So at the time that this 2018 amendment was made to the Constitution, effectively barring anyone who completes a person's term from seeking a second re-election, this law wasn't in existence when that situation happened to Goodluck Jonathan. So on Monday, May 11th, 2026, the Federal High Court in Abuja will be ruling on that. And that's because, the law forbids retroactive effect. In other words, we cannot backdate the effect of a 2018 law to punish Goodluck Jonathan for something that happened in 2011 when it wasn't a law. At best, it's a moral question. Maybe former President Goodluck Jonathan will say, okay, you know what? I will step down because now it is against the law. If he does that, it's good. But if he doesn't, he's not breaking the law. Because at the time this happened to him in 2011, it wasn't against the law. But we await the decision of the Federal High Court on Monday, May 11, 2026, to see whether or not former President Goodluck Jonathan will be eligible to contest the presidential seat again in Nigeria. Remember that 2018 law was referred to as the Fourth Alteration Act, and it became effective on the 7th day of June 2018. Subsections 3 of 137 and subsections 3 of section 182 reads as follows, and I'm quoting now: "The person who was sworn in to complete the term for which another person was elected as president or governor shall not be elected to such office for more than a single term." End of quote. So this is section 137, subsection 3, that's for the presidency, and section 182, subsection 3 for governors of a state. So, you can check the constitution on that. That effectively bars anyone from seeking a second term. Now, finally, for Goodluck Jonathan to be affected by this 2018 law, he must have been specifically mentioned in that law. Otherwise, he will be exempt from the effects of that law. I'll repeat that again. For him to be affected by this law, he must have been specifically mentioned, because he's the only one, of course, who exists today as former president who will be affected by the retroactive effect of this law. So if he's not specifically mentioned in that law, then it means, to all intents and purposes, perhaps he will be eligible to contest. But we wait on the Federal High Court to rule on this matter.